What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Texans Better Talk Show. Who should the Texans select at number 25 at their current draft spot in the first round? Let's get into it. And also, happy Super Bowl weekend. Go Chiefs, go Eagles, whoever you got. It's going to be a fun weekend. But back to the video. Now, there are three position groups I think you could take in the first round. I think two of them make a lot of sense. I think one makes sense, but not as much. And so let's just get straight into this video. I think the position group that makes the absolute most sense that we should draft at 25 is wide receivers. I think that this wide receiving core, we thought it was going to be great. Unfortunately, injuries have derailed that. We ripped up Stephon Diggs' contract, kind of eliminating the long-term plan with him. I think it makes even less sense to go back to Diggs being at his age, coming off of an ACL injury. Tank Dell had good plans for him, but ultimately it just doesn't pan out with injuries. He's probably not even going to play this next season. So you're looking at Nico Collins, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson. In a perfect world, Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie are fighting for one spot on the roster. Maybe they both don't make it. And don't forget, Robert Woods is a free agent. He might not even be back. His production also fell off a cliff. He blocks, but that's about it. So this wide receiver room is in complete disarray at the moment, and we could fix that at the 25th spot in the draft. So my first pick for the 25th spot in the draft is none other than Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. Now, yes, he's still my favorite receiver at this 25th spot. It got close, though. I'm not going to lie. It got close. 6'1" tall, 205 pounds. 61 receptions, 757 yards, and 9 touchdowns this past season. If you add his championship run and his ring, over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Look, what I like about Emeka Egbuka, very high floor receiver. He's a great pass catcher, great route runner. He does all the little things right. He has the IQ. He's played 4 good years in college football, opting to return last year when he probably could have declared for the draft. So he's got an extremely high floor, very productive over the middle of the field, and he also knows how to run block, which is amazing and really good to see. Now, the concern with Emeka Egbuka isn't really his production and his constantness or his high floor. That's not the concern. I'm not worried about him falling off a cliff. I'm just trying to figure out where his ceiling's at. I do think he's a late first round pick. He's not a first, beginning round pick. So I do think he could fall to the Texans. You just have to start to wonder, what's his true ceiling? Is his ceiling capped? At Ohio State, he wasn't really running as an outside true one receiver. But at Ohio State University, they've got a lot of good receivers there. So what's his ceiling at? I have him projected to be maybe a wide receiver 1B, more likely than not just a solid wide receiver 2. And look, you're putting him behind Nico Collins, right? It's not like you need Emeka Egbuka to carry your wide receiver room. You have that with Nico Collins. I just think he's such a strong presence. He's just such a high IQ guy for that slot position. He can be your slot guy. He can be what Stephon Diggs was supposed to be this season. He can be what a Cooper Kupp trade would have been, except way cheaper than that for way less money. Like, I really like the idea of Emeka Egbuka here, just filling in that slot role. I think he can have a lot of success, and he's been such a constant receiver. What are the cons with Emeka Egbuka? Yeah, there's a couple cons. Like I already talked about, maybe that potentially low ceiling, still a high floor, but maybe a lower ceiling. One really technical thing is when he's running his routes, he's not super shifty and twitchy. He's not getting into those breaks and juking and kind of stepping. Like, he's kind of like the anti Luther Burden, right? When Luther Burden's running with the football or when he gets into his routes, he's so twitchy, he's so quick, he like jukes you out, that type of thing. Emeka Egbuka's not that, running more rounded routes, but he's still able to get going. He still has good acceleration. He's able to build up speed. He gets open, so that's just one kind of concern maybe when you translate that to the NFL and you're playing against more like nickel corner type people or type players. But other than that, I'll also say he's not a super elite athlete. He is a first round pick, I believe, but he doesn't have like the most crazy numbers I would imagine that you could think of. And I'm sure the combine will bring that into light more. He's just not an insane athlete at the NFL level. And so I think that's something you also have to consider. Okay, my second favorite receiver, and realistically the only other receiver I could see getting this low, is Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden from Texas. Look, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, really good size, really good height. Not too tall, not too short. Matthew Golden is a natural elite athlete. That's what I really like about Golden. He's got really, really good acceleration, probably the best acceleration in this class. That might be too much, but it's up there. And probably the best ball skills of a receiver in this class. He knows how to track the ball into his hands. He also knows how to twist his body in midair, mid jump to the side, to the left, to the right to bring in that ball. He's from Houston, Texas, went to Klein K in high school. He was a track athlete in high school, really just an athletic guy. And his name wasn't really in the mix till late. A lot of people, myself included, didn't think he was going to declare. Ultimately, he did. He kind of turned into that, wide receiver one role over Isaiah Bond there in Texas. So again, just a really elite athlete. He's not the tallest guy, but what I love about him is he'll make contested catches. He's got a pretty good chance to come down with a contested catch football, whether that's over the shoulder on a fade, whatever it is, just jumping up and reaching for it. Like, he is good at contested catching, and he's not the craziest size, which is another thing. Again, I think he's a very natural athlete. He has a great vertical, just really good all around athlete. The concerns I have with Matthew Golden are simple. You've only had one good year of production. Now, granted, you took a step up going from U of H to ultimately Texas. Kind of had that, but it wasn't like he was a star at U of H, right? Played behind Tank Dell, decreased production, couple of injury concerns there. But you did go to Texas and you had a productive year, just under 1,000 receiving yards. Obviously, that college football championship or that college football playoff game that we all saw and we all kind of fell in love with him at. So I don't think that's a big deal. The other concern I have with Matthew Golden is you've got a lot of good tools, right? You've got the contested catch ability, you got the ball skills, you got the acceleration, you've got like the route running, right? You've got all these tools, but can you put it all together and really make him a solid elite receiver at the NFL level? That's kind of a kind of big question mark. I don't doubt that he'll be productive, but you really start to wonder if he can develop into that extremely solid wide receiver too. But look, one thing I'll give Matthew Golden is he did play outside more than Emeka Egbuka did. I think Emeka Egbuka can still do that. I think he can still be a deep threat, but I do think, we obviously saw that more from Golden this past season and just in general. So if I had to categorize it really simply, I'd just say I think Emeka Egbuka is that high floor, just solid receiver, whereas with Matthew Golden, there's a little bit of, it's not as clear. There's a little bit of volatility there, but I do think they both have potential to be great receivers in the NFL, and they definitely garner a 25th overall round pick. And then this last guy I'll mention just very briefly. I've seen a couple of mocks where this guy's available, and if he's available, you have to draft him, and that's Luther Burden. Talked about him a little bit earlier from Missouri. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about him. Again, Luther Burden, freak athlete, really, really creative with the ball in his hands. Really good yards after catch ability, really shifty. He's a dog. I love the way Luther Burden plays. He'd be amazing. I don't think he gets to 25. I think he goes much before that, but if he's there, draft him. Okay, the second position group that makes a lot of sense, that would be the interior offensive line, drafting a lineman in the first round. It's not the flashiest pick. It's not everyone's favorite pick. It's not everyone's favorite thing to hear, but the reality is you probably need two new offensive linemen. Shaq Mason needs to be cut. I've made a video on that. You can check that out. And I don't know how confident you are with Jared Patterson or Drew Scruggs filling in at the center role or the guard role. Like, you need another offensive lineman, preferably two. And sitting at 25, I know a lot of people have thrown the name Tyler Booker out there, the guard from Alabama. I think he's really good. I don't know if he makes it. And I'm actually higher on a different guy, and I've made this very clear across the channel. Give me Armand Membo, 6'3", 325 pounds, a true junior. He's a younger guy. He's not even going to be 21 until the season starts. He's got an unorthodox size. Again, 6'3", 325. Trust me, he moves way better than he sounds. Like, normally, if you're pushing 325, you're a little taller, even for a lineman position, but he's a tackle. He moves like an athlete. He's a natural athlete. Really good hands, really good strong base. He's very strong. I hear the name Josh Connerly get thrown around a lot too. I think he could sneak up into the first round, but I just like Membo's athleticism and strength and just grit a little bit more than Connerly's. So again, he's my guy. Yes, he plays tackle in college. He will probably play guard in the NFL, but it's not because of limitations. He could easily play tackle in the NFL. I don't want to say easily, but he could play tackle in the NFL. It's not a crazy thing to think about. It's just his height and his arm length is there. Like he has the arm length, which is more important. I just think his lower height really makes him a great guard pick. He's also athletic enough to pull and to do all that stuff, get to the higher levels. Like I really like Armand Membo. If we go lineman, he's my number one lineman. I hope we grab him. I'm not in love with the other linemen and taking them in the first round. Names like Josh Connerly have gone out there. I think Armand Membo is just better at everything that Connerly does, honestly. Josh Simmons, again, think he's more of a true tackle prospect out of Ohio State. And Tyler Booker from Alabama, it'd be cool to get him. He's a very solid player, probably the best true guard in this class. I just like drafting tackles and moving them. I also think Booker might go ahead of you. Maybe the Bears take him with their offensive line situation. So that's another thing to think about. But finally, the last position that you could make an argument that we should draft for in the 2025 draft, and that is tight end. Look, Dalton Schultz, you signed him to a bad contract. You paid him like he's a top 10 tight end in the NFL. He's probably near the bottom 10 of tight ends in the NFL. He did not perform. He can't block at all. He can't chip. He can't do any of that. When he catches the ball, it looks scary. He's not a playmaker. He's just his production has fallen off a cliff. Maybe the age is getting to him. Whatever it is, he did not have a good year this year. Oh, by the way, Brevin Jordan's coming off an injury. Yes, we fell in love with him in the last year playoff game against the Browns. I don't know if you can trust him coming off of a torn ACL. Cade Stover, I really like. He's got great potential, but he's more of a bully tight end. He's more of a hand in the dirt tight end that needs to work on his blocking to even be that. And he's not a super creative after the catch kind of guy. I love Cade Stover, though. I love his work ethic, and I think he'll put on weight this year, too. What I want from the tight end pick, and this is a very nuanced pick, if Colston Loveland is there and there's no receivers and Membo's gone, give me Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end. Look, let me just get the elephant out of the room. He is not a blocking tight end. He actually struggles at run blocking, probably one of the weaker run blockers at the tight end position. And his pass blocking is not great either, whether he's shipping or whatever. But when I say the name Colston Loveland, I want you to think of him as a receiver. He probably has the best ball skills as a tight end in this draft, besides maybe Tyler Warren. And I just think Loveland does so many little things right, fitting into gaps in the zone, just adjusting the balls. He plays like a receiver, and I love that from him. Yes, his production went down a little bit this year when he was at Michigan with their terrible quarterback play. It happens. He did win the national championship last year with Harbaugh, who is now coaching the Chargers, obviously. So I love Colston Loveland. He's got good size. I don't have his measurements on me. I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4". Again, the decreased production is not his fault. It is very much a product of the offense. He's a great receiving weapon. He's a great receiving weapon. Sorry about that. And he's been playing tight end since he was in high school. He's not a guy who just got moved to tight end because he wasn't fast enough to be a receiver and he wasn't big enough to be a lineman. Like, he has played tight end for his whole career pretty much, and it shows up in his film, the little nuanced movements, the IQ of the position. Again, the only thing he needs to work on, and I'm exaggerating, but is his blocking ability. If you can get him to be any sort of a blocker, I think you've got a really good tight end. And I think he does deserve a first round pick, so you could go tight end too. And that's really all I got for this video, guys. Let me know who you think we should draft, which position group. Do you think we draft defense? Is there another offensive group that I've left off? I mean, I don't think you go running back, right? I think it really is wide receiver, interior offensive line, and then maybe tight end. I think that's who the Texans should draft with the 25th round pick. But thank you all so much for watching. Have a good Super Bowl weekend, and I will see y'all in the next one, man. Peace out.